Zaromskis hopes for the same success in Sunrise as he had in the land of the rising sun. Kunin has her eye on Cyborg, and will the winner of the Heisman prove to be a wise man entering the Strikeforce cage? This is the Fight Network's preview of Strikeforce Miami. Fight fans, I'm John Pollock, and welcome to the Fight Network's preview of Strikeforce's first card of 2010 as the promotion enters the new year with a blockbuster card featuring everything from the best secret at 170 to a sensational female war and two big promotional debuts. Later in today's show, I'll be joined by the Fight Network's own John Ramdeen as we run through the main card of this Saturday night's event. But first up, it's the main event this Saturday night as the Dream Welterweight champion touches down on U.S. soil for the first time as Strikeforce will crown their first welterweight champion. The Lithuanian white mare Marius Zaromskis enters the Strikeforce promotion Saturday night with a scary three-fight streak of ending fights with his dreaded head kick. His biggest feat in 2009 was his July 20th effort at Dream 10, where Zaromskis needed all of 6 minutes and 25 seconds to finish Hayato Maha Sakurai and Jason High, en route to becoming the promotion's first ever welterweight champion and welterweight Grand Prix champion, and enters Strikeforce with a record of 13 wins and 3 losses. His first target of 2010? Stockton, California native Nick Diaz, who is coming off arguably the most successful year of his career, where he schooled MMA legend Frank Shamrock and then dominated Scott Smith in June. Diaz's record of 20 wins, 7 losses, and 1 no contest are the numbers of a fighter that has emerged as one of the toughest opponents to prepare for due to his unorthodox striking with a relentless output that has puzzled foes ranging from lightweights to middleweights.
I'm just happy to be fighting somebody important like this, the Dream Champion, you know. This Zaromskis or whatever, he wasn't really important. He hadn't beat Jason High yet. He had just come back and not fought for a really long time. So this guy was kind of another pushover for Sakurai as far as I'm concerned, to put him up for that, you know, that championship dream fight.
And what could be the most entertaining fight of the night, Cesar Gracie poster boy Nick Diaz battles the white mare Marius Zaromskis for the vacant Strikeforce welterweight crown. Diaz has been destructive in his past 5 outings, stopping every one of his opponents inside the distance. In April 2009, Diaz emphatically stopped MMA pioneer Frank Shamrock by punches to restore honor to his trainer Cesar Gracie, who was knocked out by Shamrock in just 21 seconds at the first Strikeforce MMA event in 2006. In his last bout, the Stockton native Diaz submitted hard-hitting middleweight Scott Hands of Steel Smith, proving that he can be a force in 2 weight divisions.
He's got the choke, got him back, and he tapped him out, just like that!
Over his past 11 bouts, Diaz has amassed a respectable 9-1-1 record, and some feel he should be ranked in the welterweight division's top 10. Meanwhile, the Lithuanian knockout artist Zaromskis has looked equally impressive over his past 10 fights, going 9-1, including 3 devastating head kick KO victories.
Zaromskis, the raging demon, the white... Oh my gosh! The big kibosh! The big kibosh!
One coming against feared Japanese freestyle fighter Hayato Maha Sakurai. In July 2009, Zaromskis captured the Dream welterweight title by knocking out standout wrestler Jason High in the finals of the Grand Prix tournament. While Zaromskis may not be a household name in North America, he does have the tools to become a Strikeforce champion.
John Ramdeen joins us to break down Strikeforce Miami coming up this Saturday night. In the main event, we've got Nick Diaz taking on Marius Zaromskis, the winner being crowned Strikeforce's first welterweight champion. For those that are not familiar with Marius Zaromskis and his exploits with the Cage Rage and Dream Promotions, tell us a bit about Zaromskis.
This guy is an exciting knockout artist. You go back and you look at his last 3 victories, all by head kick knockout. How can you not love a fighter that ends fights? In order for Marius Zaromskis, though, to be victorious in this fight, he has to keep the fight standing. He's got to punish Nick Diaz over the course of 5 rounds, and I think his best strategy is to try to get a TKO victory by trying to punish Nick Diaz's forehead, maybe get a cut over his eyes, and wait for the TKO stoppage.
On the other hand, we have Nick Diaz, who has a very unorthodox style of stand-up with his output of punches. What would be his best strategy? Because standing with Zaromskis, as we've seen, as you mentioned, of his past 3 opponents, all going to sleep.
Well, Nick Diaz, number 1, has to get rid of the ego. I think first and foremost, he has to think about winning this fight, and the best way for Nick Diaz to win this fight, use his range to punch to get on the inside, try to tie up Marius Zaromskis, get this fight down to the ground where he can utilize his world-class jiu-jitsu skills.
Now, Nick Diaz has had problems in the past trying to get down to 155. He kind of bounced around with some catchweight bouts in 2009. Is 170 the best weight right now for Nick Diaz?
Yeah, we've seen him compete at lightweight, and we've seen him compete at middleweight. His best weight class is 170 pounds. I think he's most comfortable there. He's fastest there, and I think we'll see the best Nick Diaz at 170 pounds on Saturday.
So who's leaving with the Strikeforce Welterweight Championship Saturday night?
Well, it will be one of the most exciting fighters in all of mixed martial arts. It will be El Diablo, Nick Diaz, winning by 3rd round or 4th round submission.
In the co-feature fight of the evening, Cris Cyborg will make the first defense of her 145-pound women's championship against the Dutch-born Marloes Koenen, a 10-year veteran of the sport that works under Martin de Jong and Strikeforce heavyweight champion Alistair Overeem. Cyborg has gone on an 8-fight winning streak tear since her debut loss in 2005, with her last victory being with 1 second to spare last August against Gina Carano and crowning herself the first Strikeforce 145-pound women's champion. Koenen enters the fight with 17 wins and 3 losses and as a significant underdog with a guaranteed size mismatch come fight time.
But even if in our stand-up game I see some holes. If you defeat Cyborg, you're the best female fighter in the world, so I'm really happy.
I see it as a sport. So all the critics who are telling women cannot fight, it's like the same if you say women cannot play volleyball. It's just a sport and everybody can do it. My stand-up is okay, my wrestling is okay. And my ground game as well, so all the stages have improved. Yeah, facing Cyborg in Miami on the 30th of January. She's amazing. She's really a fighter that motivates me to get into the gym and doing my best even more than I do usually. So yeah, she's an amazing fighter.
Sitting at the top of the Strikeforce women's 145-pound division is Christiane Cyborg Santos. And this weekend she will defend her title for the first time against the dangerous Dutch fighter they call Rumina. Santos became the first to hold the Strikeforce female title when she defeated the face of women's MMA, Gina Carano, in August. It was her 6th career win by TKO, and it was done on the biggest stage for women's mixed martial arts. One of Santos' biggest tests to date will come this weekend in the form of Marloes Koenen, who won 70% of her fights by submission. However, one cannot discount her highly technical striking ability. Koenen trains at Golden Glory in Holland, along with some of the world's greatest strikers. She's coming off an armbar victory over Roxanne Modafferi.
Trying to get those hips out and trap that arm. Watch out, tap out, just like that.
And at 17-3, she looks to keep the wins rolling by dethroning the reigning queen of women's MMA. This matchup has been a long time coming, as Koenen and Santos were supposed to meet at XMMA in Montreal last February. Both women say they've been training for a war, and both are known for wanting to finish fights as fast as possible, which sets the stage for a very exciting bout.
John, this is a women's bout I'm very much looking forward to. Cris Cyborg and Marloes Koenen. This as a style matchup seems like just an excellent fight.
Yeah, fantastic. Both girls possess the stand-up skills. Of course, Cyborg coming from the Chuta Box Academy in Brazil with a lot of the best Muay Thai practitioners in mixed martial arts coming out of that academy. And conversely, Marloes Koenen coming out of Golden Glory, Alistair Overeem, Melvin Manhoef, some of the best stand-up guys coming out of Holland train at that academy. So a very, very interesting matchup. I think the question here is, will Koenen be able to weather the early storm from Cyborg? We saw it in the fight with Gina Carano. Cyborg was just too much. The one factor is, if this fight goes to the ground, Koenen is far better off of her back than Gina Carano was. So she can threaten if this fight is put down to the ground. I don't think the fight's going to go there. I think both girls are going to engage, and I think it's going to be a war over the course of 5 rounds.
And also when you take into account the fact that the size disadvantage, I think once this fight gets into the cage, we're going to see a gigantic Cyborg in there with Koenen.
Yeah, but I think Koenen's going to be prepared for that. She knows what type of opportunity she has here. I had a chance to talk to her at the last Strikeforce event, and she knows what this fight means. She's definitely going to come in prepared. She's going to have extra muscle added to her body, and I think we're going to be surprised at what Koenen brings on Saturday.
Are we going to be surprised enough to get a prediction from John Randine in favor of Koenen?
Oh, I hate giving these things, but I am going to say that Cyborg Santos retains her title, but she does it by decision.
In a middleweight fight that hardcore fans are salivating over, Robbie Lawler enters this fight this Saturday night with 16 wins, 5 losses, and 1 no contest as he takes on the 24-6-1 Melvin Manhoef. Lawler last fought for the promotion last June and got a little too confident and was immediately caught by Jake Shields and submitted. The Hit Squad member is going to use this fight with Manhoef to hopefully make a statement to put him back in line for a future middleweight title opportunity. Manhoef has earned a menacing reputation overseas with the K1 promotion and is taking this fight only 1 month removed from a knockout victory over Kazuo Misaki on New Year's Eve. Manhoef is at his most dangerous at the start of a fight, but his suspect ground game has been his downfall.
It is a bout that has the potential to end by way of knockout within the first round. Both Robbie Lawler and Melvin Manhoef contain enough dynamite in their hands to put any opponent to sleep.
Domination by Lawler, beginning to pick apart. Marilla Ninja holds on the canvas. Holy knockout, baby!
At 27 years of age, Robbie Lawler has fought for almost every major MMA promotion and has managed to put together a slew of knockout victories. While Lawler's impeccable striking has always been at the forefront of his arsenal, his wrestling skills should not be ignored. The Hit Squad product trains under the tutelage of former NCAA Division I All-American Matt Hughes, and a tactful strategy would see Lawler implement his wrestling skills in an effort to ground and pound the feared Dutch striker. Though Melvin Manhoef possesses a rudimentary ground game, his 95% knockout ratio has earned him the reputation of being one of the most exciting and hardest-hitting fighters in his weight class.
To get his guard up with his hands that low.
Melvin got him good with that right hand. Melvin got him again with the right hand.
This battle-tested K1 veteran has come off on the winning side after exchanging fists with MMA notables such as judoka Kazuo Misaki, super heavyweight Mark Hunt, and the Gracie killer Kazushi Sakuraba. With a tremendous following in Japan under his belt, Manhoef now looks to make an impactful Strikeforce debut and show off his explosive style to a wider American audience. However, he will have his work cut out for him when he steps into the cage with a former middleweight champion.
John, I know you are a big fan of both of these men. Robbie Lawler, first of all, we last saw him in June against Jake Shields. Talk to us about a few of the mistakes he made in that fight, getting caught by Shields.
That's exactly what you said. He got caught. He made a tiny mistake with one of the best middleweights in the world. Some people say he's number 3 in the world. Jake Shields, you can't leave any limbs, including your neck, out there for him to take. Robbie Lawler just got caught. He's not going to make that mistake with Melvin Manhoef in this fight because Melvin Manhoef does not possess the submission abilities that Jake Shields does.
No, and Melvin Manhoef, someone that I think is very marketable over here in the U.S., but you hinted at it right there. His ground game has always been very suspect, and that seems to be the game plan. His last 4 losses, all going to the ground and resulting in him being submitted.
And I don't think there's going to be any difference in this fight. You look at Robbie Lawler, and who's in his corner, it'll be Matt Hughes, one of the greatest fighters of all time, and I think the smart game plan, and I'm almost 100% positive Matt Hughes is saying, don't stand and trade with this guy, take him down right away, and utilize your submission or ground and pound to get the TKO victory.
And with a win here, I mean, this really revitalizes Lawler and really stacks up that middleweight division for Strikeforce.
Very important, because if Robbie Lawler gets this victory, there's so many fights that Strikeforce can put on to not only entertain the fans, but make a natural progression towards the title.
So it sounds like you're going with Robbie Lawler. How's he going to win this one?
As long as the ego is in check and Robbie Lawler doesn't stand and trade with Melvin Manhoef, I think Robbie Lawler will win by second round TKO.
The fight that the mainstream sports press has had their focus centered around is the debut of 47-year-old former NFL star and Heisman Trophy winner Herschel Walker. Since announcing his intentions to fight, he has been second-guessed by fans and media alike. However, he has received the stamp of approval from one of the top schools in the world in the American Kickboxing Academy. In his debut fight, he meets the 1-1 Greg Nagy, who some believe has actually been in 3 fights but only has 2 listed on his record. Nagy has fought for the Arizona-based Rage in the Cage promotion and will become a trivia answer with a victory Saturday night. Little is known about Nagy, however, the bulk of the questions heading into this fight do not revolve around Nagy, but rather Herschel Walker.
Bob Cook at the time was with me, and he said, I think he could do it. So we made the deal, said you come to AK and you train for 3 months, we'll let you do it. And to see him go through all the hard work and the training, and to see him train with, all the guys down there and never be late for practice and never complain and never talk about being sore or this. I mean, he's a warrior, and I think he's gained the respect of a lot of the fighters down there based on his work ethic. And now it's really up to Herschel. Now's the time he has to step in and lock that cage behind him and see what happens.
I've been in martial arts for over 30-something years. I'm a 5th-degree black belt in Taekwondo, a 2nd-degree black belt in Aikido, and been doing a little Kempo for about 6 years. And so I've been in martial arts for years. Well, you know what's strange? When I first started, I think a lot of the people thought I was going to be a stand-up guy. And I think the coaches have been impressed with my wrestling ability a little bit. You know, I've been working with the guys here. I tell you, Cain Velasquez has really worked with me a lot of my wrestling ability, which has really improved that a lot. So I'm just preparing myself for whatever my opponent want to do.
He had a talk with me. He said that I would decide, or Crazy Bob would decide, if he wants to continue to do his first fight. But we were the professionals, so we would let him know. About first 2 weeks, I said, if I had to give you my answer, it's no. Third week, same. Fourth week, same. It wasn't until just recently I said, you know what, you can do it. His improvement is unbelievable. You know, the rate he learns and the athletic ability he possesses, even at this age, it's pretty unbelievable.
John, Herschel Walker seems to be the guy that's getting all of the attention going into this card on Saturday night. A lot of promotion for Strikeforce. He's been training only for 7 weeks with AKA, but Javier Mendez has been raving about the guy, stating that, you know, had he come along at 23 years of age instead of 47, he could have been one of the greatest fighters of all time.
I also think I heard that Javier Mendez says that he's the second most conditioned athlete at American Kickboxing Academy. Okay, there's Josh Thompson, Josh Koscheck, Mike Swick, John Fitch. Who's number one?
I guess that would be Cain Velasquez.
Cain Velasquez, that makes sense. Well, the reason why Herschel Walker is on this card is because of the name. The guy, look, my dad's going to be watching this fight card because of Herschel Walker, and that is the appeal. The guy, the NFL, consummate athlete, Olympian, and I mean, the guy is no slouch. He has 25 years of Taekwondo experience. But is that going to be enough? Everything changes once you get inside of the cage and the cage door slams. So a lot of question marks surrounding Herschel Walker.
Now, obviously, Strikeforce is putting every effort to get this guy a win in this fight against Greg Nagy, who pretty much no one has heard of, including his mother and father. A 1-1 record for Greg Nagy. I think for both of these guys, there's really no way to prepare for your opponent in this because it's two virtual unknowns.
Exactly, but I'm sure that the matchmakers at Strikeforce went and watched Greg Nagy very closely to make sure that Herschel Walker would have an easy victory on Saturday night so they can continue to push this guy.
So who are you going with in this one? Because this is really a crapshoot.
Yeah, I have no idea, but it only makes sense to go with the favorite. They put a lot of push behind Walker in this fight, so I'm going to have to say Herschel Walker, which means I have no idea. Let's say he knocks him out because of his Taekwondo background.
Triangle.
In another big heavyweight debut for Strikeforce, professional wrestler and national amateur wrestling champion Bobby Lashley will bring his 4-0 record into a heavyweight division that is quickly filling up with high-quality talent. After going through potential opponents in Johan Banks and Jimmy Ambrose, Lashley's opponent was finalized 8 days prior to the fight, and the man across the cage will be former UFC fighter and Ultimate Fighter Season 10 cast member Wes Sims. The 22-12-1 Sims is one of the more unique characters in mixed martial arts that is hated by most and annoyed by all. Sims himself has a pro wrestling background, as he is not only a major fan but tried out for the 4th season of the WWE's Tough Enough reality series in 2004. It's been years since Sims has fought top-end competition. However, Lashley is still very new to the sport, and the American Top Team member would be mistaken to take the showman lightly this Saturday night.
John, another heavyweight debut on Saturday night for the Strikeforce promotion. Bobby Lashley, who comes in with a 4-0 record. He's going to be meeting Wes Sims, who we only got this opponent on 8 days' notice. I know you're a huge fan of Wes Sims.
Wes Sims is a character. He brings a lot to Strikeforce with this fight because, you know, he was on the Ultimate Fighter reality show. He has a lot of fights against some big-name opponents, and if Bobby Lashley can get past Wes Sims, it kind of lets the mixed martial arts world know that Bobby Lashley is here.
What have you seen so far with Bobby Lashley? We saw him struggle against Jason Guida, going a full 3 rounds with him. He defeated Mike Cook, and then we last saw him against a very old Bob Sapp.
Well, I think the fight you should look at is the fight you said with Jason Guida. He now knows what it's like to be in hot water, so he has to be as well conditioned as he possibly can. And I think the most effective means for him to beat any of his opponents is to use that world-class wrestling skills, take this fight down to the ground, use that heavy base to get some serious ground and pound in to go for the victory.
Now, Bobby Lashley at the same time is still under contract to TNA Wrestling, and he's been trying to balance both, and I think it comes a time now, you're in Strikeforce, it's time to make a decision. If you're serious about mixed martial arts, then you can't be doing pro wrestling on the side.
Yeah, I would imagine the guys at American Top Team are telling him the same thing. If you want to make an impact in the sport, it's 100% dedication, and we've seen with American Top Team's track record, they live by that.
Your prediction, Mr. Ramdeen?
I'm going to have to go with Bobby Lashley. I don't think Wes Sims is going to be able to hang with him in any sense of the word, and I think it's going to be a first-round TKO victory for Bobby Lashley.
I'm predicting Sims kicks him in the face and is disqualified. A preliminary bout that we want to chat about, John, a welterweight contest between Joe Riggs and Jay Huron that could have future title implications for either winner.
Yeah, what's interesting about this matchup is there's some unique storylines going on. Jay Huron feels slighted. He feels that he should be fighting for the welterweight title. He said Nick Diaz is ducking him. Of course, Nick Diaz doesn't duck any fighters, and he said, you know, you want your crack at the title, win your fight against Joe Riggs, and I'm sure we'll meet somewhere down the road. Conversely, the best storyline, of course, is with Joe Riggs. Nick Diaz, if he wins his fight with Mariusz Zaromskis, he fought Joe Riggs before in the Ultimate Fighting Championship.
And then in the hospital afterwards.
They fought in the hospital. Nick Diaz was pissed off that Joe Riggs won that fight on the judges' scorecard, went in to confront Riggs, and they fought in the hospital room. Very interesting matchup. I think when you look at the style between Jay Huron and Joe Riggs, both guys very evenly matched. Both guys have good wrestling base. Jay Huron, the better wrestler. The stand-up game, Jay Huron, possibly the better boxer, but Joe Riggs has the better submission game. So a very interesting matchup that Strikeforce has put together for the welterweight #1 contender status.
Now, you make great cases for both men, but who's going to win on Saturday night?
Oh, gosh. I'm going to have to say that Joe Riggs ends up winning a decision in this fight.
Now, earlier we spoke about Marlos Kunin and Chris Cyborg, who will be fighting this Saturday night. But coming up on February the 26th on the next Strikeforce Challenger Series event, they're going to be crowning their first bantamweight champion as Sarah Kaufman takes on Takeo Hashi. And John, this is further testament of Strikeforce being dedicated to women's fighting and bringing a new belt here at 135.
Yeah, what's interesting is these two fighters are the absolute best at 135 pounds. Takeo Hashi, 12-1 in her mixed martial arts bid, and Sarah Kaufman, 10-0, undefeated, immense skills standing, submission game, and her conditioning, and she's very excited to be fighting for the new bantamweight title.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I think this is a great fight for me, and I think it's a great opportunity for me to really kind of showcase the reason I'm #1. It'll help promote more females fighting in contender fights. So I think, I'm honored that I get, the first crack at it, and, I think Takeo Hashi is a really good opponent for that.
Sarah Kaufman definitely knows the opportunity she has in front of her. She's going to come in prepared, ready for a 5-round war against the Japanese fighter Hashi.
That fight's coming up on February the 26th, but Strikeforce Miami is this Saturday night, headlined by Nick Diaz and Mariusz Zaromskis to crown the first Strikeforce welterweight champion. On behalf of our friends here at Extreme Couture Canada, everyone at the Fight Network, he's John Ramdeen. I'm John Pollock. Enjoy the fight Saturday night.